And hello, Michelle.
We're live.
All right. I will call this meeting to order on April 22nd, 2026. This is a meeting of the Glendale-River School District Board of Education, our regular meeting. We will begin with roll call. Chris Robinson. Here. Katie Avalos. Here. Danielle Bailey. Here. Carla Pennington Cross is here, and Karen Cronwell cannot make it tonight, so she is excused. At this time, if you wish, you may stand and join in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on to the agenda approval.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. Motion by Chris Robinson, second by Danielle Bailey. FYI, there is a new item on our agenda, which is item 5, board recess. We're gonna build in a 5-minute break into each meeting to make sure, about halfway through, make sure we take the breaks we need so we can stay fresh for the second half of the meeting. Does that work for everyone? Okay, all in favor of approving the agenda? Aye. I hear 4 ayes. Agenda is approved. Item 1E, approval of board meeting minutes for April 8th.
I move to approve board minutes from April 8th. I'll second.
Any discussion, comments, edits?
I had something, but my computer's still in it. So.
You remember what it is? So I'm gonna
Oh,
look at it
yeah,
on there.
thanks. It was, yeah, I'm actually sorry. It was something of, this was just a wondering around 4A. So we had equity committee updates and recommendations. I know the documentation was not available before the meeting. I'm not sure if it's uploaded to board docs now, but I think this they made like a very
I don't think we
specific.
ever got it from them.
Oh, okay, so it was a
Never got it.
hard copy. So if there isn't anything, I wondered if it would like at least make sense to very like generically or briefly just
Maybe
guide
we
the
could-
recommendation.
What if you added the words
Let me check.
recommendations regarding stay and exit interviews?
Yeah, just something to give.
I do have something here. I can forward it to Dana.
Okay.
In which case then just say, you know, like see attachment
Yeah.
and or something. That's
Yeah, I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
It came in late that day.
yeah, that's yeah. So if everyone's open to that, I would just
So we would add C attachments and throw that, or do you
Or
want to
like-
add the language regarding
stay and exit.
stay and exit interviews?
Either.
I would probably do both.
In general, you do both if
Yeah,
there's.
I would say recommendations regarding stay and exit interviews, see attached.
Or see agenda, right? Or you have a sentence you do when there are documents and
Okay.
she does it.
Thanks.
Got it.
That work?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything else? Everything is spelled correctly? All right, motion by Chris Robinson, second by Katie Avalos to approve the meeting minutes for April 8th, 2026, as revised. Per Ms. Bailey's input, all in favor? Aye. There are 4 ayes. Minutes are approved. Moving on to the meeting grounding, which I believe Chris has agreed to.
Yes.
Thank you, Chris.
When I agreed to do this, I had one idea, but then I'm doing something else. Because of being at the spring fling, I was looking around and just thinking of all the work that went into it. And then I realized it's Volunteer Appreciation Month.
Oh,
So I just want to give a hearty thank you to all of our volunteers, you know, just looking for that event, how much work must have gone into the silent auction to find all those wonderful things, the details of the event itself. And then I thought about, you know, the parents that helped with the YACs, the tied kids' shoes for the roller skating, people that tutoring have served on the PTO for so long, the foundation, all of our committees, fun run. I mean, what other school district can say, yeah, we decorated the woods, right? Just the traditions that survive through the years are because of our volunteers. And so I just want to say, appreciate their time, expertise, ideas, and commitments. Volunteers, you're what make happy memories, you're making the district better, and you're showing our students they have their purpose. So, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, And I just saw a call for volunteers for field day. Which also. It's like hundreds of volunteers to make field day happen, so. Beautiful, thank you, Chris. All right, moving on to item 2A, public comments. At this time, visitors may speak on any non-agenda item if you wish. Welcome back, Mr. Martin. Please state your name and address for the record.
Wayne Martin, 7275 North Fort Washington Road. Apartment number 1221, Glendale, Wisconsin, 53217. With all of the rain that came through last couple weeks, has there been any damage to the interior structures of the buildings you don't know about?
No. No, we had a little bit of wetness, but our custodial crews did a really good job of diverting water and kind of knowing where those leak points were gonna potentially be due to what happened in August, so they did a fantastic job being preventative.
Glad there's not repeated.
Me too. Me too.
Thank you for your questions, Martin. Anyone else? Anyone online?
Someone is online, but there is not a question or comment.
All right, then we are on to our item 4A, facilities and operations discussion.
All right, fantastic. So I uploaded into public content information about the Shaping Our Future Together, which is a revisit from an update that I gave the board in March of last school year. And I engaged people in the Planning the Future Together sessions. And I'd like to discuss some of our priorities in terms of framing our thinking about future facility and operational needs. And then to potentially have the board consider the development of a citizens advisory committee regarding facility planning and thinking about, composition, charge of that work. So I do want to take a look at highlighting some of those key components that are in the work that was done. So we had an opportunity to look at the past of our district and go back and do kind of a trip down history lane and make sure that we understood sort of our points of pride. And those laid out to be our music programming, our club offerings, athletic programming, the diversity of our students and staff, and also our community partnerships with like scouts and PTO, and how those, if you go back into our archival information, those all stand out as being really critical components. The one other component that didn't get mentioned in here, but I think is really important to think about is sort of the early adoption of more inclusionary methods around special education and the work and sort of really innovative work that was being done around special education as we accepted as a school district, especially with the construction of Glen Hills and working through some of that. So I think there's some carryover of legacy in our buildings that we see as strong areas that we want to push forward into the future as well. And then priorities for enhancing learning. When we met with families, this idea that increasing hands-on learning, knowing our students need mental health services to support them in their learning, reading math improvement programs, opportunities for real world and authentic learning came up as a really key piece that I think parents were seeing, like how do we start to connect what kids are learning to a more authentic purpose. And then also opportunities for parents and teachers to work together, and how do we create spaces that maybe, offer opportunities for that to happen. Some of the key skills for graduating students from our district came out to be critical thinking and problem solving, effective communication, strong academic skills in math and literacy, a sense of self and community, and leading with influence, which is really about advocacy, and having our students be able to stand up for the needs of others as well. When I look at Nicolet's Portrait of a Graduate, there's some nice tie-in to around what we're preparing students to walk into in their high school experience. We do know that we have some declining enrollment in the sense that we used to be a district that had the need for 3 different schools
Yeah.
in order to support its learning. This was just a 6-8 building in the past. That has shifted. I think, Michelle, you've been looking at studies, we've gone from in recent years, over the last 10 years, over 1,000 students to slightly over 900 students, right? So we have seen some decline of about 92 students. We had the population study that was done by Applied Labs, and I think there's one other independent study that was done. And what we saw in that was that the idea that we likely will remain somewhat neutral in our who we serve. So somewhere between where we're sitting right now, probably, and probably no more than like 1,200 at some point in time, right? And so I think some of the things that have come up because of that is how are we utilizing our facilities right now? We have our property at Good Hope, is that, that has been offered up as being, an area that people have brought up, us selling Good Hope or lifting one of our properties off of our portfolio in order to think about how we use our spaces. So I think one of the things that I'd like to make sure that we're thinking about as we're talking about facilities and long range planning is forefronting sort of what are our priorities. So we've heard from the community in some of these sessions. We know sort of the legacy of our district, and I think going forward, if we're going to if the board would want to develop a board-led facilities planning committee of the board, what do we want those priorities to be for that committee in terms of the considerations of their work, knowing the information that we have right now. So kind of open for discussion, I think, with the board about your thinking around some of that as you've been noodling around on our property situation, our building conditions, about the building conditions, right?
All right, let's start by just going around the room. It's share time, right? Katie, you're up.
I mean, biggest priority with whatever we end up doing is make things more accessible. None of our buildings are accessible at all right now, and that's a big problem. Like, there's tons of options that we could, play with, and I'm not tied to really any of them. I just want buildings that are all of our students can really get around in and could safely exit if they needed to. And,
What's on your mind?
I certainly agree with the accessibility, I think it certainly would raise up safety. And input, because if we have a committee, I wanna be sure that it doesn't cut off other input. For the people that are working in the building daily.
Yes.
Those are critical voices that have to be considered. Families who are dropping their children off every day. Critical voices. And I also want to make sure if we do a committee, we have a mechanism to make sure that there are no conflicts of interest.
Danielle?
I have very concrete thoughts, and my computer is messing with me right now, but I have been thinking as a priority is around community use and what is the most like asset optimization, and thinking about community use as well, thinking about how are we as a district going to be competitive and a first choice with it, like a destination school? So what keeps us competitive in terms of buildings and accessibility? I think that I want more than ADA compliance. I want that as a minimum, right? And I want the lens through which they look at options to be around, I guess, inclusion and equity, but not just checking the box, right? It's how do we, because I was thinking about infrastructure, what you were like telling, we're thinking, you can call it like mechanical and engineering and da 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 da, but like, it's also about like how people flow in and out of buildings, so how do we make it the most open, accessible to community members, to families, to students, regardless of their physical or like cognitive abilities. So like I don't know, accessibility plus.
It's almost like the school as a resource to the community, not just.
Yeah,
existing
and
within-
I mean, personally, I will say like whatever the recommendations are in terms of selling, keeping property, I want to have the most. I want to, in my mind, selfishly, I would like the least opportunity for whatever property, if it's part of if it's part of an option, that gets developed by the committee to sell something. I want to think about, I don't know, it's like, it is asset optimization, but it's like, if we're letting go of something, how likely is it going to become more apartments that aren't going to be affordable housing for people to buy houses? How likely is it to become a competing school? How and thinking about.
Protecting our assets.
Yeah, so I think that's asset optimization, but it's also just like thinking about future like families and like how does our, I will make this much more eloquent. Can I I assume that like we're kind of brainstorming now and
First tip,
Okay.
right, as we start thinking about
Great.
this.
yeah, but I just think like we want to be a hub for community, families, students, and I'm thinking about like the community at large as well, like investing their dollars, like would make sense to make sure that maybe it's not apartments where you aren't like gaining tax revenue necessarily, right? Like it's, so I don't know, does that make sense?
I think,
That's
I-
all I
I
can
know,
bring up.
yeah, I think Andy Franklin, former board member, used to chat with me about this, but current alderman now, I used to say that like, we just don't need three properties, you just have to sell one of the three properties, and he was like, just remember, Carla, once a government sells property, it's just gone. You have no control over it, and so, he reminded me that as representatives of the community, we're not just unloading an asset that we don't need, we're also making some broader decisions for community.
Mhm.
And once we give away that land, we lose the power to shape its future, right? So I've kind of shifted in my thinking about this. I'm trying to like be slower in thinking like unload it, I mean, I still think about it, but I personally am thinking about this from a process perspective. I appreciate you thinking about this from a process perspective. I think I call it a CAC in my mind. A citizen advisory committee is a great idea. Yes, I think that committee can't replace voices, but I envision a committee that reaches out to those voices and does that work for us. I envision a committee that includes board members, teachers, family members, but then also experts, right? And that's something Anna and I've talked about. Say, I don't know what you had suggested, maybe an architect and an owner's rep who would sit on that committee. Which raises an interesting question around conflict of interest. So we would need to process that, but I like the idea of expertise on that committee. My husband is a real estate finance professor, though he says he will refuse to serve on this committee because of potential conflicts, but we might look for someone like that, an academic in our community who studies land development, property value,
Planner.
taxing, like someone who can give us sort of a deeper sense of what our decisions are gonna do to the broader community around us, right? So I'm thinking about that. I love this idea that Anna had shared, some version of something that Whitefish Bay did, which was, I think they called it an oath, but we could call it sort of if we decide to create a committee, we could lay out sort of our non-negotiables, right? What matters to us, what the committee has to keep in mind as it thinks about what the redevelopment of our buildings would look like, right? So I sort of think of that as something that maybe we do a special meeting on. Where we're just diving into this question of what is non-negotiable for us, right? You're thinking about community asset maximization or whatever, when I think about it, I had started working through sort of my list, right? What matters to me? there's a lot of things you could talk about, right? Real outdoor, real light in every classroom. Like made my short list, right? You know, right? I see every, right? Above ground spaces for music and art and tech ed, right? Which doubles for windows. I think about ADA accessibility. I think about technology and what the shape of our buildings will do with technology. Probably need a tech expert on an advisory committee to think that through. I think about 0 to 3 education spaces, outdoor spaces, what kind of dreaming you can do around that, right? And I think about, in my mind, what I wrote down was modesty and affordability. Like, I don't think we should be dreaming of a juice bar. I think we should be dreaming about what makes sense for our community. I think modest spaces can be inviting spaces. Yeah, gardens are modest spaces, right? And outdoor classrooms are cheaper than giant square walled buildings. There's actually some interesting research around how the brain wires up differently on depending on whether you grow up in square spaces or round spaces, like the way we engage with the world looks different based on whether you're indoors and outdoors. Really cool research, right? And then I started, in my mind, I started then thinking, wouldn't it be great to have like a child development expert, psychologist on our committee to talk about what development looks like from a non-educational perspective, but thinking of Estrida, of course, right? So I got big dreams, and I think it's just in terms of what a committee could think about. But I think that's probably our work as a board is to first support Anna in going out and finding membership and doing that by us sitting down and sort of prioritizing what we want our non-negotiables to be. The alternative, again, that Anna suggested was you could delegate and ask a committee to set up non-negotiables and come back to us. But then it starts to feel like maybe that really is our job to kind of make the big umbrella and say, go forth, see what you think, and engage in sort of back and forth collaboration. I don't know. That's what's on my mind.
I think if you ask them to
The
do
floor
this,
is open.
if you ask them to do non-negotiables, you're like, I feel like you're not actually setting them up for success because
Right.
they're coming with in an advisory capacity for something the board ultimately has to approve. They should know what our non-negotiables are without creating those scenarios.
Yeah.
So timing wise, would it be like maybe a special meeting for us next week and then at our following board meeting? Because Anna, we were kind of talking timeline about like approving a committee.
Yeah, next week, we have a workshop for budget, right?
Oh, right.
Yes, so we would have to look at some additional planning if you wanted to build in like a workshop, or I would argue that maybe we do a special meeting so that it can be videotaped as well.
Yes.
And so I think we could look at that as a topic. I could certainly have somebody maybe who could come in and talk about process.
Yeah.
Like that might, like what that looks like, if you wanted, we could think about some of those pieces. So in terms of timing, I think we probably won't have something laid out before our very next board meeting.
Yeah, I would think we'd be talking about May or June.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're gonna put together a committee, no one's gonna do any work in the summer anyway, right?
Well, I don't
You
know,
think
I
a
guess.
committee would get
Yeah.
together?
So if you want to work backwards and you're thinking about, I guess I envisioned a committee might start up in June and have work through January, February. What is that? Like if you have multiple meetings, then you have something you can present to the board, like a final report by March of 2027, and then you're looking at I don't know, maybe engaging the community and then potentially taking one of the options to a fall 27 referendum. If you're like, is it
fall
28?
27 or spring 28.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting the timing wrong, but I think that we all know we want this committee, right? And I think the community wants it post haste. So I don't want to do so much that delays it, because I think the Whitefish Bay thing puts out a really good model. Plus we have if we just have to decide 4 or 5 guiding principles as a board or non-negotiables, and the rest of the work is like known, right, what they have to do. I think we could do that quickly, but that's just me.
I think it's gonna be harder than you think.
Okay.
I mean, I think we need to sit and chew and. we're
Like,
gonna-
I already know them and I just don't have them here. Because of my-
Yeah, but that's you. I mean,
But where you
we
at?
have to discuss as a group of 5 with Anna what that charter looks like. If you're gonna write a advisory committee charter, we would probably wanna put in there specific dates and deliverable dates and
Yep, I've created a
We need-
couple
create membership. Right, but
proposals. that
right,
we'd have to
so
choose
so we
from.
would have to chew through, find you know, a thing and. I don't know, what do you guys think? Chris, Katie, we're sitting here back and forth,
Well, okay, question to you guys then, in terms of thinking about non-negotiables from a board standpoint, do you need a lot of time to sit with that, or do you feel like you kind of already, I mean, 'cause I've just been thinking about this for a long time, I guess, but. Yeah, if it was something like drafting a charter proposal and then at least authorizing the committee so that Anna could start.
I don't feel like I need a lot of time to get ready for that discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all we're really talking about then is scheduling a meeting in space that's available.
Right, or does it become another, does it get added to an agenda?
Oh, you're thinking it could be quick enough that it's just part of a regular agenda?
Well, I mean, I guess I thought this was that to a degree, but I think that. Could it be like, a special meeting on the front end of the budget, or is that too much? Like 30 minutes, okay, so yeah, a separate special meeting, maybe like an hour or two, like. We could exchange, or what are we allowed to exchange in advance? Cause like I have created some proposed like charters or language or things that would be in alignment with. Our policy, so then it would just like,
So I feel like Danielle, if you have some things there, what you could potentially do is share that information with me and I could share that to the board and like
Yeah.
update for
Yeah.
him to look at without there
yeah,
being
to
any
just like.
comment, right?
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
there's no comment or collaboration that could happen on that, but they certainly
Okay.
could look at
Yeah, I can share that
an
with you.
example.
Yeah,
It would
okay,
be provide. I think that would be
yeah,
appropriate.
essentially using like Whitefish Bay's model of native or related to that's good.
You're talking about the letter, or was there a separate?
No, it's that letter was like from the superintendent and I have turned it into more like a board charter or a charge for a committee,
Okay,
etc.
if it was good, I had mixed feelings about it, I would have come at it differently. For setting up a community advisory committee.
Well, we have our own policy, right? too,
Yep,
So it's like
yep.
kind of aligning it with that, plus our KPIs, our strategic plan, plus.
Yep.
Our own history, legacy and current situation. So I'll share that with Anna. She can share in her update. Does that work for you guys? But then we would have to,
In terms of a workshop date, our next meeting, we have our workshop on budget on the 29th, and then we also have a May 6th meeting. May 13th is a no-go for me.
That's the choir concert here.
Yeah, that's the choir concert and it's graduation.
yeah.
When is graduation?
It's graduation for my.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. But we could look at, we could look at dates. I believe our next meeting is the 20th of May. We could look at something like within, if we didn't want to meet on a Wednesday, we could look at something in the 18th, 19th potentially. Or even 11th, 12th if you wanted to. But I know that's a busy week if you guys are planning on coming to conferences. And we don't need to decide that right now, maybe.
Yeah, maybe we will.
Yeah.
But Anna,
We could decide right now, though.
Hmm?
We could pick the 11th or the 18th or the.
oh, what is it? Okay.
Yeah, the 12th is already a parent university, right?
Yes. it
So
is.
maybe the 18th?
Just a Monday.
Yeah, the benefit of doing a special meeting on the 18th is even if we don't reach conclusion, we can discuss and put the finishing touches to vote on the 20th,
Yes.
just 2 days later.
Yes.
So I would propose the May 18th for a special meeting about.
You all know where the gym at?
The gym?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Show you where it is. Not a problem.
I have a question just for you, Anna. If you're like, when you get, if and when you get approval from this committee, when would you, like, ideally, when would you wanna start meetings? And like how, like, when do you think would be most ideal?
There's a pretty significant lift for the administrative team in June, but it'll be in the later part of June.
Okay.
That we do, that like that's where our heavier lift is, so like I could see a meeting taking place in mid-June, and then I could see another meeting taking place, some more meetings taking place in July. August is a big ramp up time for back to school, so I can only see like one meeting occurring during that time, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Would you be able to start garnering interest or like recruiting people and giving them a heads up prior to the authorization of a committee? Like start forming a.
I would wanna wait until I see your recommendations of who you would want to be on that before I would start garnering.
Right,
Okay.
So
Yeah,
you wanna
I
start
think
building
seeing the
that.
non-negotiables of the board, being able to be clear about what that committee's purpose and goal is based on the board feedback. As well as if the board is gonna weigh in on experts and to think about this idea of conflict of interest as well, like we need to. We need to ferret some of those things out before we do outreach.
Okay,
Yeah.
So if by May 20th, you have an approved committee, you think that you could potentially get that committee together in 2 to 3 weeks to meet in June?
That's awful tight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
I don't think,
I'm thinking.
so realistically,
Probably more like July.
July.
Yeah.
Maybe, okay.
Remember that a well-formed committee can work fast.
Oh, yeah, right.
You know, that's the
Yeah,
thing,
you
it's
could
not,
probably-
it's not gonna be a spinning committee, it's
No.
gonna be,
Especially with good direction. I think
Right,
that's-
exactly,
that helps.
exactly. So, May 18th,
Yeah, and could I ask, are you comfortable with, like if I weigh in a little bit on some pieces that I've been thinking about?
yeah, it's like 100%.
So I think like when we think about the world of teaching and how that has shifted to,
Yeah.
like, I appreciate natural light spaces, all those things are really, really important and critical, but I also think about what are ways that we could design spaces to set up teachers in a better
Yes.
way for collaboration and support of one another, so they don't feel isolated in their work.
Right,
We do, I think there's a lot of opportunities in what we know about like teachers working in professional learning communities and supporting one another. I think those are considerations that should be made.
Yeah.
I think thinking about how we service our students in special education and making sure that we have opportunities for those teachers who work on do heavy paperwork to have spaces that are conducive to doing that, right? And then making sure that, that creates a space for children with multiple needs to be able to be in shared and collaborative spaces as well, right? And creating spaces that feel calm and safe and quiet for
Right.
kids and throughout the school day, because that's a needed component that our big echoey spaces don't always hold right now.
Right.
Right?
Mhm.
So those are just some things that have been rattling around in my brain, and I guess, I think Michelle, I don't know, like from a fiscal standpoint, I think the other thing is we have to get closer to better operational efficiency, right?
right,
So your idea of modesty also becomes where does efficiency live
yes.
in planning? So that we can try to bring down our operational costs, because bringing down our operational costs would help what we've needed to ask of the community.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And allow us to put a larger percentage of our resources into kids, teaching and students.
Yeah. Yeah, you got it.
You remind me that I used to dream of like a dedicated, I used to call it like a SEL mental health space. Like not, I mean, they tried to create a little bit like a version of it in the teacher lounge for teachers, right? But, long ago, I used to talk with Larry Smalley about using some foundation money to turn this space, this boardroom into an SEL quiet space. Where, you might be able to offer mental health supports, SEL support, safe, quiet spaces for kids. A space with, books that caregivers could borrow to learn about student needs and la. You just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea. of like-
And
like
things to
safe
think
space.
about too, like where are opportunities for teacher wellness? I toured a building not too long ago that in all of their buildings, they have a workout, like a small workout room for teachers.
Yeah.
And it's just for teachers, right?
Yeah.
So like just to
Treadmill.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what our teachers would say they wanted, but but thinking along those lines.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
For teacher wellness.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think you ever have to ask permission to share your views.
Yes, well, I just.
I think you're
Yeah,
at the
I
table.
want to hear you.
Yeah.
I think about this a lot, so I also do, like, I could dominate the conversation, but you know, I don't want to do
Same.
that.
I think we're all thinking about this all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you get lost in the details and I think that's where it's gonna be. I think it might, maybe it's gonna be easy, but I think it's gonna be a harder conversation than we know. To think of what are those high level non-negotiables that we can focus on as a board. Knowing that they'll trickle out into some of these details, accessibility, teacher wellness, student wellness, community usage, I'm not sure what that's gonna look like. But if you have work that's been done, that'd be cool.
Right.
So May 18th?
Yep. Yeah, I shall.
Yeah, okay,
That's good.
everyone else, we're okay, and then I'll check with Karen if there's any problem, we can come back to it.
Or.
Yeah, we're like to 6 p.m. because that works for your schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, 6 to 8. I'm super excited to be dreaming about.
A lot of people are very excited.
Yeah, I think our community, I mean, I know there's always different views, but I think a lot of people in our community are excited about the idea of new spaces, renovated spaces, or brand new spaces. I hear a lot of voices in social media talking about selling the land, and folks just talking to me, well, you can sell some of the land. So I think that's probably gonna be, in my mind, one of the big questions that the committee is gonna have to grapple with, like, do we need 3 properties? If we keep them, what do we do with them? Can we build an ice rink or make a sunflower patch? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know if it's like, I hear people, I think people wanna be like proud
Yes.
of our facilities. And, you know, so when you talk about it, it's like, there's some, I don't know, almost like embarrassment about like maybe our not accessible playground, you know, or things like that. And it's like, I don't know, I don't think they necessarily care how we get there, you know, but I think they want something that they like feel like is.
I know it always comes up with the pool. We'll keep the pool, won't we? I've heard at least
Interesting, okay.
at least half the time when facilities discussions come up. I didn't know people love the pool so much.
I was in another district and the pool became a dividing factor in the plan. Right?
Really?
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I
That
think
had one before? or-
they had one and there was talk about closing that space.
Oh,
And
okay.
so that kind of
I mean,
didn't go over well with the community because having a pool was important.
it's a big community hub here. There's rec
It
classes
is,
there.
it
there's-
is, yeah.
I know a lot of people have learned to swim from.
That's right.
Mhm.
Miss Cindy.
Miss Cindy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's interesting too.
Lots to think about.
Community partnerships.
Do you already have sort of a wish list of people you want to have serve?
I have people who have expressed interest into something right around that. Who are interested. We've had some parents and other community members who I think have a strong interest in it.
Okay.
Yeah. I
I
don't have a full list though.
There was a professor at UWM who, this is digging deep in my shallow memory. Some time ago, I went to what do they call it when students make boards? Like showing their work.
Like a science competition?
It was like a science fair, but it was a bunch of architecture and city planning students from UWM.
Is it like college for kids?
No, they were college students and grad students who presented like ideal visions of how to reuse some land. And I gotta try to remember that professor's name. Cause I wonder if she would be interested would you be interested in someone like that? She's like an urban planning professor.
Yeah, Jen Clark has worked pretty extensively with UWM's architecture program in Letha, and they had students who came in and worked with they worked with Ms. Cook and Mr. Savajan. And they worked with students in those spaces as like a volunteer opportunity through UWM. But then as part of their work, they had to go through our building and look at how to redesign certain spaces. As part of the
interesting.
architecture
Right,
program.
right.
So they actually had opportunities to like think about how would they redesign the commons, and that was part of their project for their class.
So
at UWM.
those are interesting people to think about
Yep.
for membership on the committee, like fresh outside eyes.
Yeah.
Do you want us to throw ideas at you as they come up in our minds, or would you rather have? Wait until.
How about you write them down and we'll
Yeah.
discuss them when we come together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise I might lose them.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's right, they're interested.
Do you have a view on whether you want us to reach out to people, or do you want us to give you names?
I think once we've decided on those non-negotiables, if there are people that you were thinking of, I think that would be an appropriate time to make those recommendations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Yep. Everyone feel good about this plan forward?
Mhm.
Thanks for opening the door on it, Anna.
Yeah.
Probably publicly. And then on the meeting on May 18th, you know, the other thing that does is give plenty of time to tell people we're having this meeting.
Yep.
Community, it's an open meeting, so community members can come
And
and
if it's so,
participate.
and if it's a special meeting, then it's just, we can talk about the topic, just that topic.
Just
right?
that topic,
So
yeah.
they would be able to add.
Yes, they would.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
As the board president, I would allow public participation.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that would be cool if community members who care a lot about this showed up
Mhm.
and participated.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, anything else?
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
Student voices. I don't know if it's like, if it makes sense for them to be on the committee, or if, you know, have a student rep, or maybe alumni from, I don't know, but definitely like thinking about that, that might be somewhere in my.
I think there would be an appropriate way to engage them at points where it made sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, like, to the point of architecture students designing, I would love to see what kids would do if we told them about it. You know what I mean? Like getting some of their thinking about that in ways that feel like purposeful and accessible to them
Yeah.
to add their input. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it was 2 years ago, Jen Clark actually did that with like, for sure the sixth graders, I remember Marissa talking about it. So
Yeah.
somewhere those exist.
Yeah, and they designed a lot of the outdoor spaces.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you want, I think you had mentioned to me, I can't remember, or maybe I imagined this, maybe 2 board members on the committee.
Yeah.
So we would have to arm wrestle. Just kind of serve on the committee.
Well, would it be a conflict if you and Anthony were both on? Because then you'd both be there, so it's like it would be transparent, it wouldn't be like you'd be feeding him, you know?
I definitely would love to serve on this committee, but you know, there are 5 board members, so.
I already have 2 committees that I'm babysitting, so.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Yeah.
between you and me and Karin then, yeah, okay. You'll have to lobby, Mr. Independent yourself.
I will, I plan to, don't worry.
Does this help you, Anna?
Yes.
See her kind of this thinking, and it sounds like we have consensus around having an advisory committee
Mhm.
and getting this going in a engaged way. Sweet. Anything else? Any visitors wish to speak on the topic? Oh, Mr. Martin.
Try to keep it to brief comments, since I know this isn't anywhere near final for setting things up. And I just wanted to say 2-ish things, so for using Whitefish Bay as a template. Be a little bit careful with that, since they did manage to fail a capital referendum with probably general equal level of support that Glendale-River Hills has. And
Mhm. Mhm.
in my line of work, I talk with a lot of people in the Whitefish Bay area who are clients, and a lot of them that voted no were upset about the word need when it came to the capital referendum, since to them, the word need implied something very different than it does to you all, since the need meant it was either going to be imminent collapse or it was actively poisoning the children.
Mhm.
So so just be careful with the word need.
That's an interesting take, yeah.
And then also with the Good Hope property, ideally, that should be subsidizing a whole bunch of other, community service activities that you can have going on, and hopefully you're making a very good profit off of that at some point. That should make sense.
Thanks, Mr. Martin.
See a potential community member.
Potential committee. I don't know, we'll have to think about it.
Financial background.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Anyone online? All right, we are now at our new agenda item, board break. 5 minutes? Good, 5 minutes. We are officially in recess for 5 minutes. How are you?
Good, how are you?
We're live.
All right, we are out of recess. And we are on to item 6A, recommended approval of revenues, expenditures, and payroll for March 2026.
Yeah, so these reports are for the month of March and some from July through March. First report is fiscal year 26 revenues and expenses by fund. There's detailed reports listed under there. A summary is on the main page showing our general fund with actual revenues, 10,866,165. There's a typo there. Expenditures of 12,676,303. Special projects fund, we have revenues of $9,516 and expenditures of $39,730. Special education fund had revenues of $3,094,906 and expenses of $2,918,806. Our non-referendum debt fund, we've paid 1 million, revenues, I'm sorry, I see take over there too. $1,090,436 in revenues, and then expenses of $1,087,750. Our capital expansion fund, $3,028. Food service, $299,826 in revenues and $269,988 in expenses. And then our community service fund, revenues of $244,030 and expenses of $261,278. And those typos will be fixed and re-uploaded for the board. The accounts payable disbursement checks, those totaled $727,764.50. There is a detailed report attached. This month I did not include the credit card transactions, those are just in the separate report. And then the credit card charges, listed on the next report, $11,783.97. And there's a detailed report there. And then summary of paid benefits and disbursements for March. And March totaled $1,657,850. 657,854.93. And you can see the comparisons of payroll, benefits from month to month, and then expenditures or other expenses.
Can you remind me what AP stands for?
Accounts payable.
That's right. I just. Brain fart.
And then bank balances, as of March 31st, we had balances of $8,785,529.97. And there's a report there. And then the budget calendar has been updated for April. Extending out a few more things and making a few changes for April and May and June, as far as we go. It's down. I've updated it with the budget workshop. In May, There's a couple of different things, approval of benefit insurance plans, the dates are down for, sending notice of budget hearing for the 26-27 budget. And then those firm dates too, for when the notices will be published in June for the budget hearings. And publishing, of the notice of budget amendments, which the budget amendments for 25-26. So those are budget changes that need to be made. Those are listed for the June 3rd board meeting.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Before discussion, anyone wish to make the motion?
I move to approve revenues, expenditures and payroll for March 2026 as attached.
Second.
All right, Danielle.
No discussion, nada, thank you for comprehensive report, all this.
Katie,
Well, makes sense.
Chris,
Thank you. Love all the check marks on the calendar.
quick question, I think you've answered this before, I just don't remember the answer. On food service, I see that our actual revenue is about 30,000 higher than actual expense.
That is because at month end, when Adam processes the claim for food service for reimbursement, federal reimbursement for food service, he records that revenue in there. And at that point, we have not received, like the month of March, we have not received the invoice yet for the expense of the food service.
I see.
So
So that revenue number is not, I'm thinking about lunch prices. This isn't because we're overcharging for lunch prices.
no,
Somebody who had looked at this might think
Mhm.
that, right? But it's just because of a lag in
yes.
federal funds coming in.
Mhm.
Okay. That's all I got. Anyone else? Any visitors have any questions or comments? I see Mr. Martin.
In the late fee report on page 4 for Johnson Bank quarterly payments of unused commitment fee, is that basically for the line of credit?
Yes, it was, and there had been a check that had been, I don't even remember what the issue was with the check, so it had to be reissued.
Yeah.
So that's why it's in this late.
And same report on page 6, there's a drywall repair, was that for the August flood?
Yes, it was.
Is that the last bill that you know of?
Yes. Yeah. I believe there was a mat, some type of, track mat that was ordered recently. Hexagon mat. Hexagon. So I don't know if we paid for that. might be-
Geometric Macbeth.
Last one on page 8 of the report, there's milestones programs. To the food service fund or support staff for 2,500. I was wondering what that was for.
Those are people that come in and they work with the students at lunchtime, and I actually have a note here to recode that to the general fund. So that we're not pulling from our service for that.
Thanks, Ms. Martin. Anyone else? Oh, yeah. State
it's-
your name and address or affiliation.
Affiliate.
Affiliation will work.
And you're Amy Lingard, education teacher at Parkway. Just in response to that, I don't know if it's gone through, but Gus is ordering a new tug of war rope from the flood because we just discovered it got tossed. So I don't know if he's brought that to you yet, but while you were talking about it, I know it just happened this week. We're like, where's the tug of war rope? So there you go, Wayne. So I know there's one more thing.
Write that down, Mr. Lentz.
Tug of war on the agenda.
Yeah, important. You don't use it till the end.
Thank you, Amy.
Time.
All right. Anything else? Anyone online?
No comments.
All right, we have a motion by Katie Avalos with a second by Daniel Bailey to approve the revenues, expenditures, and payroll for March 2026. All in favor? Aye. I hear 4 ayes. It's all approved. And thank you as always, Michelle. Item 6B is our standing gifts and grants. Agenda item, I don't see anything there. Moving on to item 6C, the CISA 1 agreement.
Wait, can we go back first a bit?
Oh, sure.
Just to recognize all the people that donated gifts for the silent auction.
Oh, yeah.
You know, those aren't individually recorded, but
Yeah, that's right.
we had a lot of support, I think.
Thank you. And those aren't donations to the district, so technically, we don't have to
Got it.
approve them, right?
Yeah.
They're donations.
Still appreciate.
Yes, we can definitely give them a shout out. Thank you for the reminder. All right, 6C, CISA 1 agreement.
All right. Taking a look at the CISA 1 agreement is an agreement of service that's in alignment with policy 6440. We collaborate with the CISA for cooperative purchasing. I, in administrative contract, have put previous ones, so you could do a comparison between last year's and this year's, so you can take a look at what that agreement entails. There are, I believe, 2 key services that would be in FY 27.
Membership of audiologist.
So it's the membership and then the educational audiologist as well. Yeah. And I know, there was a question that a board member posted that I did not have an answer to, was how do they calculate the pay on the audiologist? I don't know, Michelle or Kelly, I didn't have a chance to preface with you. Do you have any idea?
I don't know how, can I talk? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yes.
I don't know how they exactly calculate the audiologist salary. Because their services are very it's a minimal amount of service, but if there's troubleshooting that needs to occur with the technology, she's on call and will come out. So for example, we had a student whose DM microphone broke. We had to order a new one. She came out to help make sure it's working with the students' listening devices. So she helps troubleshoot that technology, and it's kind of like a blanket price per student.
Oh, it's per student.
It's per student.
Okay.
So we have a number of students in the district with hearing loss, so she comes and makes sure their technology is working, that we're, if there's things we need to purchase in order to support their access to instruction, she's provides that recommendation.
So it's like a fixed rate per student that CISA charges any school.
Does that feel?
Yeah.
Okay, well, do we know that, so I guess so then there would be a fixed rate, we would be aware, we would just. Right? So the jump would be because there are more students.
We have more students.
Yeah. Yeah, and there may be a raise in CISA's prices, I would not doubt that, just based on, the cost of everything.
Okay, do you guys see that at least, or do they just give us some number and we're like, okay? Like, do they at least show, like, it's like, do
I
you
would
see
see
something
in
that's
their
like,
catalog of services.
Yeah,
That price is listed in that catalog.
so we think that this price, or this price is is what they should be charging for how many students? Okay. Someone can confirm that at least, because we don't see that. Okay,
we can.
no, that's, just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's a good question.
But then their membership price tripled. That's.
And we received notice that their costs were going up, because I think they our CISAs have no mechanism for increasing revenues other than to charge more for services, right?
Yeah,
So they are in a pinch as well.
But we benefit from the CISA 1 membership, like you think that it is worth that cost.
Yeah, so all of us
That's all.
all of us in in our various director roles are really pretty involved, so I do monthly meetings with all superintendents in CISA 1. Jenica is part of a district assessment coordinator grouping, so that helps with all of the assessments that we issue, as well as she works with a curriculum team. Kelly works with a team of CISA 1 pupil services directors as well. So all of that become networks in which any upcoming legislations, policy shifts, things like that are brought to the table, and then there's like troubleshooting around problems of practice.
By CISA one.
Yes, CISA one
Connects all of it.
connects all of that and leads that work.
That's,
Yeah.
Can I just also say something that they've done with the, for any new special education teacher, they have that induction program. And that's also run through CISA one that lasts for their first 2 years. As a special education teacher, and that's paid for through a grant and has been, tremendous for new special educators.
Yeah, we collaborate with them, and they have, we collaborate with them for multiple years, so supports, like, just goes on.
yeah, good, that's all.
Yeah.
If you think it's right, that's.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, do you want a motion?
Yeah, would anyone like to make a motion?
I move to approve the 26-27 CISA one agreement of service as attached, and there's, no, just take off the as attached, just like.
Is there a second?
Okay, go ahead. Second.
Chris is seconding?
Yep.
Okay, any further discussion, Chris?
My questions were the same as Danielle's.
I don't have anything else, Danielle, you've got them, Katie? All right, the only question I have is whether we technically, I mean, it's just a technical question, I appreciate you bring these things to us. Do we have to approve this? I've looked through policies. Are we required to by our policy? I can't find what requires it, I mean, I'm happy to, of course, but it's an interesting question.
The service over from, okay.
No, we don't have that anymore. Okay. Anyway, yeah, okay. There's a motion by Danielle Bailey, second by Chris Robinson to approve the 26-27 CISA one agreement of service. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, CISA. One. Moving on to item 7A, staffing changes.
All right, so I'm bringing forward some staffing changes based on board policy 3120, which indicates that superintendent would establish terms of employment, but the board would be solely responsible for the employment or resignation of any administrator or teacher in our district by a majority vote. So I am asking the board to approve the hire of Margaret Meg Murphy as our school counselor at Parkway Elementary School for this upcoming 26-27 school year. And this would be replacing our current school counselor who is retiring. I'm also asking for the approval of the resignation of Roger Harris as the 6th and 7th grade social studies teacher, as well as the resignation of Isabel McCauley as 1st grade teacher, who will be leaving at the end of this school year.
Okay,
So is that 2 motions? or-
I would do 2, right? One for the hire,
Yeah.
one for the resignations.
Okay.
Okay. Let's start with the hire.
I move to approve the hire of Margaret Meg Murphy as school counselor at Parkway Elementary School for the 2026-27 school year.
Second.
All right, any discussion, Katie?
She's got big shoes to fill, but for resume, I think she can probably do it, so welcome to the district.
Chris?
Excellent credentials.
All right, so motion by Chris Robinson, second by Katie Avalos to approve the hire of Meg Murphy as a school counselor at Parkway. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Welcome, Ms. Murphy, and thank you for joining us.
Margaret. Now I have to call her.
Yeah, we're gonna be calling her Margaret Meg.
Thanks for goes by Meg.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I have a framework member, nice meeting Margaret Meg. Margaret Meg. Definitely big shoes to fill. She's got this. All right, next motion.
I move to approve the resignation of Roger Harris as the 6th, 7th grade social studies teacher and the resignation of Isabel McCauley as the 1st grade teacher at the end of the 25-26 school year.
Second.
Great, discussion, Danielle.
Just wishing Mr. Harris well, and Ms. McCauley as well. And appreciate their service to the district.
Kate,
Same.
Chris. Carl, same. All right, motion by Chris Robinson, second by Katie Avalos to approve the resignations of Roger Harris and Isabel McCauley. All in favor? Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item 7B.
Can I just ask a point?
Yes.
Yeah, we should. Is Mr. Harris resigning at the end of the school year or more immediately than that? I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have to discuss whether he has to
Oh.
pay the thing? Cause if under the circumstances, I'd like to discuss that if that is.
I would not recommend payment of.
Okay, good.
just based
That's-
on the circumstances, so-
I would agree. Okay, we don't have to vote on that though.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some privacy issues here.
No, I
Go
understand.
offline to.
Yeah.
I understand. Thank you.
Thanks,
Not
Chris.
based on my recommendation, but they.
It's a thoughtful question.
Yep.
And fair.
Yep.
Okay. Are you comfortable with that, Chris?
Absolutely.
Yeah, fine. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, item 7B, teacher contract template for 26-27.
All right, so in the documentation for the board, I have placed the teacher contract that was initially issued after board template approval. In a conversation with our teachers association, we took a look at a component of language in that contract that indicates that terms could be changed during the course of the listed contract. After discussion with the association, I'm recommending that that language be removed from the contract. In addition to that, there was almost a repetitive area of the contract I talked about disqualification. Disqualification would come if a teacher were to lose or not hold the appropriate license. That's already stated in an earlier part of the contract. Our recommendation from legal counsel is to strengthen it to invalid to void, I believe. Just to strengthen the language in that the contract would be void should a teacher not hold the appropriate license for the position.
Right, you struck the redundant.
I struck the redundant
From
language. Yeah.
4.01.
Yeah, so those were the changes I'm asking the board to propose. That they would accept to rescind the previous contract and approve the revised contract.
So is that one motion or two?
I think I would do it as 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, maybe we'll have to start with a motion and then we can have discussion.
I move to rescind the 2026-27 teacher contract template previously approved on 3/18/26 attached to the agenda item.
Second.
Okay. Discussion, we'll start with Chris this time.
No, I think the question is.
Okay, good. And the language that we're changing, it was in last year's template, right? That's exactly the same, but
Yes.
this year the association
Yes.
spotted it and, or the association attorney, I guess, right?
Yes.
Spotted it. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're very comfortable.
It is not language that when I looked at neighboring contracts and other teacher contracts is typical, and in conference with our legal counsel, sometimes it is in other contracts that they issue and was initially, I think, put into our contract to ensure that as we were navigating some fiscal choppy waters, that we had the ability to take care of the organization by having that clause in there. And there's also a line, I know a question arose that it references the handbook in there. Our handbook language on layoff would be consistent with what we would use in non-renewal, right? So it's
Right.
not specific to this kind of mid-year change.
Right.
So that's kind of an anomaly within that contract.
Right.
So
If you're-
after hearing that rationale, looking at other contracts, I feel comfortable recommending. the
Yeah.
change.
I think the power a district has if it runs out of money is the power of layoffs, right? That's how you don't need a term in a contract. If you're about to go broke and you have to engage in layoffs, I think we have some legal authority to do that, don't we? I mean, if you're broke, you can't pay people.
Well, there would be a consequence then if the contract.
Actually, that's what that language is for.
That's what
Yeah.
that language was
Okay.
for. Yeah.
Cause we're in Atwell State, I don't know, I've never wrapped my head around the legal authority an entity like ours has.
Yeah, and then typically the language in the handbook lays out that there's multiple factors, so
Yeah.
we went through the initial round of layoffs through the non-renewal process when, would that be prior to the 24,
Right.
25
Yeah, when we had
school
to
year?
make the big cuts.
Right, so
Yeah.
when we made those cuts, those were the it lays out that there's not a priority considerations, that seniority is one of the things, but not the
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's what the language is in the handbook.
Not that I'm advocating for a bunch of layoffs, just to
Okay.
make perfectly clear.
Okay,
Just thinking through, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good idea to take the language out of the contract. It seems superfluous, and I understand why it would make someone edgy to
Yeah.
have that in there. So
Yep,
thanks for
absolutely.
honoring that ask from the association.
Of course.
Yeah.
Where does the employee handbook live for, for us to access it?
You have access to it, it's in the board
Board
documents.
docs.
to
It's under policy.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
I guess I don't read this as pertaining to layoffs, and so employee handbook language around layoffs, so I guess I would just peruse it once more for something about changing salary or full-time, or changing a teacher contract mid-year. Just to make sure there's no language in the employee handbook that is connected to this.
I think
I can do it too,
I think the real critical piece of this is 118.22, like state statute around teachers is pretty strong in terms of the fact that you have to walk through that non-renewal process, right?
Right.
And so that kind of, when you're looking at anytime we would be changing the terms of a contract, you would have to go through the non-renewal process. Which is why that language existed in the contract, right?
Okay, I mean, I'm just like, I feel like there was a lot of fiddling with the employee handbook for some time, so I just like, probably when this was inserted, I wonder if our legal did anything. It's fine, I'm gonna look at it just to make sure, because I think you just wanna make sure that there isn't any leftover language, not that it would trump, the contract would trump, but just for. That's all, fair enough.
Yeah, if you wanna take
Yeah,
a look
yeah.
at it, I would appreciate
It's
it.
under policy.
Yeah, I
It's what shows
no,
up.
I'm so used to it not. Not,
It's still there.
I did used to be,
Right,
It's like,
right.
to go back through email and the drive.
All right, we've got a motion by Chris Robinson, second by Katie Avalos to rescind the 26-27 teacher contract template that the board approved on March 18th, 2026. Did I say that right? Yes. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Then there's one more motion.
I move to approve the revised 2026-27 teacher contract template as attached to this agenda item.
Second.
Right. Any need for further discussion? I forgot to pass last, any visitor comments? All right, motion by Chris Robinson, second by Danielle Bailey to approve the revised 26-27 teacher contract template. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, thank you. Next is the template for the notice of reasonable assurance of employment for support staff.
So policy 4124 indicates that prior to the conclusion of each school year that we would indicate to support staff that they would have, oh, thank you. Not in this session. There you go. Indicates that we would provide a letter to support staff of reasonable assurance of employment for the following school year, as they didn't have work during the summer. And so I am bringing forward the template that Michelle Brown and I would use that would also indicate to them sort of their wage, the board's kind of ongoing commitment to that 90%, kind of where they're sitting, so providing additional clarity around their wages.
Let's start with a motion, if anyone would like to make one.
I move to approve the template for the notice of reasonable assurance of employment for the 26-27 school year for support staff.
Second.
Right, discussion, Katie.
I like it, it looks reasonable to me.
Reasonably assured.
I'm not really sure.
It's good. I'm making a mark then.
Chris?
Yeah, no. That's-
Danielle?
So,
All right, I got no comment. Thanks for being responsive to my comments earlier. I shared with Anna some nitpicky.
It was very helpful, actually, so I appreciate it.
It's a real clear letter. I like this. I like this model for this reasonable assurance letter. All right, any visitor comments? All right, motion is by Daniel Bailey, second by Chris Robinson to approve the template for the notice of reasonable assurance of employment for the 26-27 school year for support staff. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to item 7D, a proposed closed session. Someone else has to take a big breath.
what's it? You wanna do it or you want me to do it?
I move we recess into closed session per section 1985 1C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation that of any public employee over which the governmental body is, I can't do it. Has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility specifically to discuss support staff compensation.
Second.
And I will say that, which has now become my practice, right? The public interest would be supported by going into closed session, because by doing so, we are protecting the privacy of individual employees who might be discussed as we talk about compensation, preventing potential public embarrassment or reputational damage, thus improving our ability to attract and retain qualified staff who don't want their private business discussed in public. And it enables us to engage in a candid and open discussion among board members, supports better decision making that way. That would be what I would articulate as the public interest supporting this closed session. Any further comments or discussion from board members? All right, this is a roll call vote. Chris Robinson.
Aye.
Katie Avalos.
Aye.
Danielle Bailey. Aye. Barbara Pennington Cross votes aye. We are officially in closed session. For those who are visitors.
We're live.
Okay, we are back in open session. And we are on to item 7E. At this time, would anyone wish to make a motion?
I got it right.
7E.
Yes, okay. I move to approve the 2026-27 recommended compensation for support staff as discussed in closed session.
Second.
Any further discussion? Like Ferris Bueller, anyone? Anyone? All right, motion by Katie Avalos, second by Danielle Bailey to approve 26-27 recommended compensation for support staff. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for all that hard work, Michelle and Anna. Awesome. All right, moving on to 7F, swearing in oath of office for our beloved Danielle Bailey, who recently won her third election to the school board. How does this work? Who swears her in? We're so glad you're staying.
Yeah, there were only 37 write-ins, so
Well done.
yeah, pretty good, pretty
Yeah.
good. And
Okay, who's swearing her in? Who does it?
You are.
Wait.
Oh, I don't know.
Um,
Do I just do it? I go like this in front of people? Is there something to sign?
yeah, this is what you signed.
Yes,
And
we
then-
also need.
I think I just read this in front of you guys. I'm not
Yes,
signing.
read that.
Okay, okay. I don't get to give like a, just.
You
kidding.
can put the hand up.
Like a Miss America way?
Yeah.
Okay. I, Danielle Bailey, having been elected as a school board member of Glendale-River Hills School District, swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. Yep. So help me goddess.
You can leave that part out.
Oh, well, you didn't tell me that, now I've said it, so.
All right. Congratulations, yay!
I've expected me for another 3 years.
I don't feel stuck. Congratulations, Danielle. Thank you for your service. Last item, board preview and planning. Just a reminder, the first May meeting, we elect officers and do all those odd delegation pieces. So if anyone wants to make changes in officers, we can't cabal offsite, but we can talk in pairs. If anyone wants to do something different or make a change, we can talk about that. And then, so I just want to put that on everyone's radar. And then I think it would be a good idea to schedule a board retreat / orientation refresher separate from the evaluation meeting or whatever that we're gonna have in June or July, right? I don't know how everyone else feels about that. What I envision happening at a orientation refresher would be sort of next evolution, like going through meeting management, talking about how we can improve meeting management, just sort of reminding ourselves about Robert's rules, governance stuff. How are we doing? Where do we sit? What can we focus on in the
Succession planning perhaps.
Succession planning would be on the agenda. Thinking about like laying the groundwork for what kind of advocacy we're gonna choose to do in the coming year. I think it might be a nice opportunity to kind of sit and think about where we wanna put our attention. I think we took a nice leadership role this year around voucher transparency. So something like that where we can push the envelope, I think might be the kind of thing we could talk about at a refresher, and then just nuts and bolts. We can figure out what's gonna be on there. So I don't know if you guys wanna schedule something.
Well, when are you thinking? Because you said we have some, I mean, we have a lot of.
We already have 2 special meetings now, right? Next week, we've got a workshop. Then on the 18th of May, we've got a special meeting on facility. We could do it in June. I don't know. How do people feel about that? I think it would be, yeah.
Good, or, yeah,
Good.
oh, okay, I would, and you said early June is not a heavy lift for you.
Early June is like principals will still be wrapping, like, then once that early, like that first week or 2 out of school, we have to launch summer school.
Yeah,
So there's like
yeah.
that
Okay.
starts to be a little bit heavier, and then also deep admin work.
Okay.
Although, I mean, the board refresher doesn't have.
I was
to put a
gonna
heavy
say,
lift
we,
on it.
well, yeah, for sure,
right.
or if, yeah.
Is June 10th graduation,
Right now.
or is it the 3rd?
Yes,
It's
no,
the 10th.
it's the
It's the 10th.
We do the 3rd.
Because hopefully we'll all get to the
The
graduate.
3rd, we have a regular school board meeting that night.
What
What's
about?
on the agenda?
Let me take a look and see if there's anything heavy on that agenda, or if we could potentially
Like have a very.
We could do
we
the,
could do like a short board meeting if we needed to do any action around
Yeah.
employment and staffing, and then retreat
Yeah.
after into that.
oh, that would work for
That's
me.
it.
Potentially,
That's, yeah.
but should we try?
You guys
to
like
try
that?
I do like.
Yeah, okay,
Do you
so-
think the agenda can handle it?
So board meeting followed
I think so.
by
Like,
retreat.
like action only-ish.
The second meeting is the preliminary budget, right?
Yeah.
So the first meeting probably has some business work around school lunch fees.
No, that's all
Or
in
is that,
May.
is that all in May?
That's all in May,
Which I should know, since we just held those.
yeah, it looks like the 3rd is relatively light right now. What I have in there is legislative updates to the board as potential topics, and then also potentially looking at facility and rental leases, so we could.
Oh, right.
I mean, if we could if legislative piece is gonna move into the workshop part of it, we could move that, so
Yep.
it might just be looking at that one component and probably staffing at that point here. I would.
Right.
First action there. Yeah,
So if people were able to stay a little later, we could do like a 1 hour board meeting followed by a.
yeah, or try to skinny that down to say like 30, 45.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're looking at, yeah.
It's us.
Hey, let's aim to do better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. That would be efficient.
Okay.
I do think it would be nice to just check in.
Yeah.
Just review governance, review. what's
Well, and I
going
have all of our stuff that we brainstormed last year around like how we support what we want to support, so like all of our notes from last year, I think it'd be a good point, like they're still up in my office, so like bringing that out again, taking a look at that, seeing if there's revision to any of it. Like as we've grown
Yeah.
over the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. All right, and then there's lots of active things, lots of events. coming
There's
up.
lots of activity going on.
It's all listed.
So little school this week for my kids.
Yes.
And the foundation spring fling was fun. It was pretty successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how much money they made.
We will.
Put on a good show.
Yep, so big piece there is a lot of time for our teachers to connect with families, and then also on April 22nd, which is today, there's the Nicolay Parent One-on-One for 8th grade parents, which is part of that transition work that we do at this time of the year with Nicolay. And then no school on Friday for our students, and then the equity committee next week, and the board budget workshop, which Michelle has been slicing and dicing and rearranging numbers to bring to you all, right?
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, so I think it should be good.
Okay, and then the workshop is open, right? People can come.
Yeah, people can come to us on the workshop if they'd like to, so I think tentatively, we discussed, taking a look at some of, like a review of just overall school finance budgeting, what goes into the budget, but then also starting to break down more, distinctively into some of the areas and where money is specifically spent, and having a closer eye and look on that, and helping the board see some of that.
Okay. And I would say if there's a particular area of interest that any of us have that we really want to learn more about, this would be a good time, like in the next day or two, probably,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To let Michelle and Anna know what we might be interested in wrapping our heads around.
Just email you directly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just email Michelle.
Okay.
Even a question that you want
Yep.
to go over.
Yeah.
All of it, always.
Okay. It is just so complex, the way you build budgets, from my way of thinking, yeah. It's hard to retain. All right, anything else on preview planning?
I wanted to preview, or I just wanted to propose, we talked about this, rainbow resolutions. I felt, I did not know that this month was also like Arab American Heritage Month.
Yeah.
And that's one that I'd like to
Add to the rainbow.
add to the rainbow, perhaps Earth Day. And then along with that, updating the language of developmental disabilities, like Pride Month or something like that. And we talked about maybe doing that late summer, like coming back to putting that on an agenda to when we like revisit and approve all the resolutions for the year.
Yeah, I think last year we did it in August, right? Or all the rainbow
Like,
resolutions.
Like doing them all for the year.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I just wanted to put that on the radar.
Okay.
That there's some I'd like to add.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a good conversation with Jenica just in passing the other day. I was in the building and we were talking about kind of this idea of these resolutions becoming less monthly performative sort of documents and more like an opportunity to celebrate what our schoolhouses are doing. And kind of seeing the thread of the work through the year. So yeah, I think I love the idea of adding the Arab American Heritage Month
And then I have one thing for our Hefe and superintendent to think about or consider in terms of like how a standing agenda item might look around awards and recognition, or like volunteer recognition for staff, for students, for programs. I know we do it sort of organically ad hoc.
Yeah.
But I recently attended another school board meeting and I did like how it's standing agenda item for them, and I don't know if that means you have to do it every time, but like it's at least on the radar or it's a shout, I don't know, so
What
that's
kind
just.
of awards did they get?
Well, no, it's like if awards have or recognition has been given to students in the district or staff or whatever, they mention that. You know, like if there any teachers received something or other. And then they also just recognized like their fifth grade ELA program and highlighted what the students learned or whatever, but I don't have a vision or like I'm not attached to anything, I just think. I know we do it sort of organically and spontaneously, but how might we think about
Building that self.
building it in, especially like the volunteer, you know,
Yeah.
piece too.
I wonder if it's like a trimester, like 3 times a year,
I don't know,
or you could do it once a month.
I don't know, what
It could be like the.
I think it's
gifts
just,
and
I'm just asking you to
gifts
think,
thing,
you know,
what's
think
on
about
there,
it.
and if there's something to shout out, we shout it out, if there's not.
Yeah, kind of, yeah, so anyway, it's just for you to ponder.
It's also it could also be a time to highlight our alumni who have won things that they.
Yeah, and you
Like
could
a
add,
National Merit Scholar,
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah, things like that, you know, or
Mhm.
kids go, yeah.
Mhm.
Not to like add more work, like, cause that's not like, you know, what people be digging for, you know, the whatever,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
do think
No, but it-
probably.
There's pretty typically things that I mean, you see them in my weekly book updates, there's something
Yeah.
celebrated, and I think putting positive intentionality around the things that are going well in our district is a good,
Yeah.
it's a good place to highlight that.
Yeah.
My only one request would just be that, like, in honor of like teacher time and like
Yeah.
students coming here, that it could just be, like, we don't
No.
have to bring people here
Mm-mm.
unless they want to.
Exactly, yeah, like just
That-
let them know we're gonna give them a shout out
Yep,
and
yep,
whatever, but,
absolutely. Yeah.
you know, or maybe
Yeah.
if we do, yeah, for sure.
You know what it does too, I mean, practically like with the donors, it's a nice way to create a online collective. Just like a trail
Yep,
of
absolutely.
success, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was immediately thinking exactly what you were thinking, like.
No,
maybe
not
it to be
invited,
a
yeah, not like,
Dog and pony show kind of
Nope.
thing where people feel
No.
obligated to come.
No.
Then I also worry about people who feel left out. Like, we'd have to figure out how you're gonna create the pipeline of information
sure,
that comes in. But yeah, I like the idea of,
I
it
mean,
could just be like people emailing, they could email
could-
you even.
There's so much.
there's so
Right.
much, first of all, there's so much that goes like on all the time, but I
Mhm.
also would say too, there would be an opportunity that like. We had like when we did the Tell Me Something Awesome, right? Like
oh, yeah,
you could put stuff out to staff too as well, and just kind of put out a monthly reminder, like if you have something that you feel like you'd like to have us highlight, please like.
Yeah.
fill out
Yeah.
this form, and then we would have that information
actually really
on a
like
regular
that
basis.
Yeah,
and we call the agenda item, tell me something awesome.
let's work it out,
Yeah, okay. Okay, it's a good idea.
something awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We'll put
thanks.
it in the consent agenda.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, if you haven't seen the monster collaboration, you really need to look at that.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I just put it on Facebook today, and the website that the Nicolay students did, or the
Yeah.
people there, is
Oh, okay.
fabulous. Yeah.
I think you linked to some of those photos, right? That was very cool. It's in Anna's update.
Oh, great,
Yeah. It's,
I did read that and responded, so I was like, what?
all right,
That was Daisy.
one last motion to make. Would anyone like to make it?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Typical.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.